When the scales of justice tip against those sworn to uphold it, the results can be unforgettable. These corrupt cops thought they were untouchable until the courtroom brought them down instantly. Like this first cop who came to court in dramatic fashion, only to be rattled by the time the session ended.
The thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
My first name is Jeremy, spelled Jeremy. My last name is Phillips, Phillipps.
And Mr. Floyd didn't drop dead while you were interacting with him, correct? You testified that you were the officer who approached the passenger side of the vehicle.
The only way I can make sense of the sentencing, and I also want everyone to understand where I'm coming from with regards to this, especially if there's going to be any appellate review of this sentence.
What happens when suspects get charged in court? What happens when these suspects turn out to be cops? These are cases where corrupt cops instantly get destroyed in courtrooms.
The thing I will ask you to do is to state your first and last names for the record and spell each.
My first name is Jeremy, spelled Jeremy. My last name is Phillips, Phillipps.
Thank you. Go ahead, your witness.
Thank you. How are you employed, sir?
I'm employed with the City of Waukesha Police Department.
And how long have you worked in law enforcement?
I've been in law enforcement for a total of 14 years next month.
All with the City of Waukesha?
I have about 5 months with the City of Dodgeville Police Department in Wisconsin.
On November 21st, 2021, during a Christmas parade in Waukesha, tragedy struck when 76 people were caught in a horrific incident, leaving over 60 of them fatally injured. The person responsible was none other than Daryl Brooks.
All right. Sir, I'd like to direct your attention to the date of November 21 of 2021, please. Were you working that afternoon?
I was working that afternoon, yes.
What was your duty or assignment?
I was assigned a normal patrol beat, squad area 216 with the City of Waukesha on a 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. shift.
Were you aware there was a parade taking place in downtown Waukesha that afternoon?
I was aware that there was a Christmas parade downtown Waukesha.
Were you directly assigned to work the parade?
I was not assigned to work the parade.
In court, a policeman, Jeremy Phillips, is asked to testify before further hearings can continue, as he was one of the officers who witnessed the incident.
I received a complaint to respond in emergency fashion, which means light and siren, for subjects fighting in the park with a knife allegedly involved.
Where were you coming from?
I was in the patrol area of East Moreland, roughly at East Main Street at the time. That's where I was responding from.
Was Main Street shut down at the time for the parade?
Main Street where I was responding from was not, no.
Okay.
Jeremy claims to have received an emergency call for victims fighting with weapons involved and had been dispatched to the area later that day.
What do you remember seeing?
As I neared the vicinity of White Rock Avenue at Baxter, directly in front of me appeared to be a unmarked patrol vehicle, silver in color, which was blocking the roadway at White Rock Avenue and Hartwell Avenue. And I believe off to the side, I could also see a marked patrol vehicle.
Could you see any floats or people participating in the parade?
At that particular time, as I arrived in the vicinity, I did not. I just saw the side of a squad car with emergency lights activated. It wasn't until a little while later I saw that there were floats and such on the other side of that patrol vehicle.
The silver colored SUV with lights, red and blue lights activated, do you know whose squad car that was?
That belonged to Sergeant Dave Warner.
Where did you go?
When I arrived to the area, initial dispatch information stated that this alleged fight involving a knife was somewhere in the vicinity of the Schutze building where the boat ramp was. Based on my training and experience of that vicinity, I know that the boat rental checkout is on the back side of the Schutze building, so that's the initial area I responded to and where my attention was drawn to.
After he speaks, an exhibit of a map is brought out so the cop can identify the places he claimed to have been through.
I drove around in the parking lot of the Schutze building. There was another officer already on scene who, from my understanding, was already on foot in and around the vicinity of the Schutze building and advised that they could not find anybody at the Schutze building.
Another officer's out on foot? What do you do?
At this point, the officer came over the radio and stated he could not find anybody in the vicinity. I was listening and monitoring the radio, and at some point, what I thought was a reserve officer came over and said that they were speaking with a couple of subjects potentially involved. So at that time, I got on the radio and said I was going to attempt to meet with the caller, because I didn't exactly know who this reserve officer was speaking to, how many subjects were involved, if they were actually involved or just a witness to the situation. All of that information was completely unbeknownst to me, so I decided I should probably go meet with a reserve officer and figure out who these subjects are and what the involvement was.
This reserve officer was working as part of the parade, is that right?
He was in the vicinity right at Sergeant Dave Warner's location.
Okay.
The officer claims to have gotten a distress call and, on getting to the location, finds a reserve officer who he doesn't know. He says he tries to meet with the caller to get more information from them instead, as the reserve officer claims to be speaking with those potentially involved.
Before I could fully reach that intersection, there was approximately 3 subjects off to my right-hand side on the sidewalk that were yelling, screaming, and waving, like flagging me down. The way that they were doing this, they appeared to be in distress. They appeared that they needed immediate help, and certainly appeared that they needed to speak with somebody in law enforcement.
So I assume you pulled over.
I pulled over, I rolled down my passenger window, and 2 of the subjects started yelling that their friend had been assaulted. So it was right at that point that they started trying to tell me that their friend had been assaulted, that information came over the radio on the primary dispatch channel that something had happened downtown and somebody had been hit. So at that point, my attention started to get a little bit diverted, because hearing that on the radio is not something that just happens every day. That perks you up pretty quickly to figure out, that could be a serious injury, that could be more officers needed, something to that effect. So that took my attention away briefly. As I looked back at the subjects, they started to again say that their friend had been assaulted. So I said, hold on, let me pull over so I can get out, so I can speak with you directly in person and figure out what was going on.
Jeremy claims to have met some people who flagged down his vehicle with claims that their friend had been assaulted. Seeing this as a trivial matter, Jeremy stops his vehicle to hear them out. They tell him their friend has been assaulted by a boyfriend. When he meets with the assaulted lady, she tries to downplay it and says it was just a verbal argument, but he can see swelling, bruising, and a black eye on her face. He also tried to investigate further before he got another call from the radio.
The calls on the radio at that point were 1078 after 1078 after 1078.
Okay, what does that mean?
So 1078 in law enforcement jargon is officer needs immediate assistance right now, all available units. As that was being called multiple times, other people were coming on the radio and stating there were subjects down in the street, then it was 10 people down, then it was 15, then it was to 30 or 40. And I had to make a decision at that point, speaking with the subjects, particularly the one who appeared to be involved and the most injured, who was not being cooperative with me, that the greater danger and the clear and present threat that was happening downtown had to draw my attention. I had to leave.
All right. The events that you've described for us so far, are those all captured on your squad video, sir?
Yes.
And at that time, in November of 2021, were you wearing a body camera?
I was not wearing a body camera at that time.
The officer is now left to choose between the case of the lady who was beaten by her boyfriend and is refusing to cooperate and the case just announced on his radio. He chooses the latter.
I leave the area. I tell her I'm sorry that I had to go. I went down White Rock, navigated float traffic, went down East Main Street in a westbound direction, and eventually came to East Main Street at Barstow Street, where I exited my patrol vehicle.
A recording is then played in court as proof that everything said so far is the truth.
When you got to Main Street, where'd you go?
When I got to Main Street, as most of you probably just saw in the video, I took a westbound direction all the way down to Barstow. There's still floats in the parade. I think there was a lot of people that didn't exactly know what was happening in front of them. When I got to Barstow and exited my patrol vehicle and you saw me running down towards the center of the street, at that point I was just trying to assist any officer, EMS, civilian individual that was around, and it was just mass chaos, carnage everywhere.
Did you attempt to render aid to some injured individuals?
There was approximately 2 to 3 individuals I can remember talking to directly. They were all members of the band. I don't know which band it was. It was one of the high school bands. They were in the vicinity just west of Barstow on Main. There was a number of them laying in the street, obviously injured. I had face-to-face contact with a few of them laying on the ground. There were parents screaming at me to help their kids. I did what basic measures that I could take as far as emergency life-saving goes. I checked pulses. I asked them to squeeze my finger, asked them what hurt, what they could move. The 2 or 3 I talked to could still move. They could still talk. They could tell me what hurt. There were multiple people standing around them, also providing aid. At that point, some of the radio traffic that I was picking up on, I was gathering that potentially a vehicle had driven through the parade and hit some of these individuals. I contemplated throwing some of these people in my patrol vehicle and trying to get them to a hospital. However, my vehicle just simply isn't equipped to have that kind of space or room to do that, given the fact that I didn't want to try to move anybody unnecessarily that would have caused further damage to them, especially if somebody's involved in blunt force trauma, such as a car crash.
Jeremy gets to the location of the incident to find multiple people injured. With his police vehicle not having enough space for the injured victims, he has no choice but to wait for an ambulance. In the process of waiting, he learns that a car had driven through the parade and crushed some of the paraders.
The third person I came across was also a band member. She was a female. Her leg was obviously injured. She was being held upright by a couple of adults. And I asked her what was wrong, what was hurting, if there's anything more serious with her as she was being held up. And she said, "Officer, I saw what happened. I saw who did this." And I said, "What can you tell me?" And she said, "A red SUV sped through the parade and did this." She didn't say anything more than that. I said, "Okay." I was like, "Stay with your family, stay with your parents. Somebody will be by with an ambulance to get you shortly." I was made aware a little while after my involvement directly in the downtown area, yes.
Did you learn the name of the person who had been taken into custody?
Yes.
What was that name?
I knew from radio traffic at the time that it was a Daryl Brooks. I didn't know the date of birth or middle name or anything at that point.
At some point later, after the chaos had somewhat settled, did you have an opportunity to go back and try and investigate the initial complaint you had taken from Erica Patterson?
Yes, I did.
Once the case had settled, Jeremy claimed to have returned to the lady who had allegedly been assaulted by her boyfriend and surprisingly found that she's linked to Brooks.
And specifically, could you find anything linking Ms. Patterson to the defendant, Daryl Brooks?
Objection. Hearsay.
Overruled.
I did find information through our reporting system and other law enforcement sources to directly link Erica Patterson to Daryl Brooks, yes.
And did that information also directly link Daryl Brooks to a vehicle described as a red SUV?
Yes, it did.
Jeremy is then cross-examined by Daryl Brooks, who makes him look like he's being paid to give testimonies against him.
I noticed, Officer Phillips, you are in uniform this afternoon. Were you scheduled to work today?
Yes.
So it would be fair to say that you would be on duty as of now if you weren't giving testimony in this manner.
I would be on duty right now, yes.
It would also be fair to ask if it would be fair to say that you giving testimony right now, you're still getting paid for it.
I am currently employed by the City of Waukesha Police Department on a working patrol shift, on a normal shift for myself, yes.
Would it be fair to say that you are getting paid right now as we speak?
Mr. Brooks, if you did anything to further investigate the initial fight that you were dispatched to, do you remember that question?
Yes.
Did you, in fact, relay to detectives who were working on this parade incident the information you had found out about the link between Erica Patterson and Daryl Brooks?
Yes.
To your knowledge, did detectives then follow up?
To my knowledge, it's detectives that followed up on any further investigation regarding the fight itself.
This cop was definitely able to save himself, but our next cop clearly isn't.
And Mr. Floyd didn't drop dead while you were interacting with him, correct?
No.
You testified that you were the officer who approached the passenger side of the vehicle. You approached George Floyd on May 6th of 2019, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
And you had your gun drawn when you approached Mr. Floyd, isn't that right?
Yes, I pulled it, yes.
And when you approached Mr. Floyd, he said, "Don't shoot me, man, I don't want to get shot," right?
Something like that, yes.
You told him to undo his seatbelt, correct?
That's correct, yes, ma'am.
And he did that, right?
Yes, he did.
George Floyd died on May 25th, 2020, after a white cop, Derek Chauvin, pressed his knee against George's neck. At Derek's trial, the video of Floyd's arrest on May 6, 2019 was brought up. It was said that George was a passenger in an unlicensed vehicle.
And then you said, put your hands where I can see them, correct?
Yes.
And then he put his hands in the air?
Yes.
And then you told him to put his hands on the dash, is that right?
That's correct.
And that was when you grabbed his hand and forcibly put it on the dashboard of the vehicle, correct?
Well, and yes.
And then the other officer with you on the other side of the vehicle changed that to put your hands on your head, correct?
That's correct.
And then he put his hands on his head, right?
That's correct, yes.
And there was one officer who said that they were going to tase him, right?
That's what I heard, yes.
And you were yelling pretty loud, correct?
Yes, I was, yes. It escalated real quick.
With this officer admitting to visibly coercing Floyd to do as they wish, it is safe to say this incident would amount to what would lead to his death.
Some profanity as well, correct?
Yes.
And you had your gun drawn the whole time you were giving commands, right?
Once I started ordering him and he refused to show me his hands, yes, eventually it escalated where I pulled my gun, yes, ma'am.
And he was awake, correct?
What's that, ma'am?
Mr. Floyd was awake. Was he awake during this incident?
Yes.
He was conscious?
Yes.
He didn't appear to be in medical distress to you when you were pulling him out of the car, is that right? He was talking to you, he was standing up, is that right?
I don't know if it was specifically, sometimes he was talking, sometimes he was mumbling. He was incoherent in my mind a lot of the time during there.
But you got him out of the car and you handcuffed him, right?
That's correct, ma'am.
He asked you not to beat him up, correct?
That's correct, yes.
He was able to walk, right?
Yes, he was.
He continued to talk to you. While you were interacting with Mr. Floyd, he didn't collapse on the ground, correct?
Wait a minute, what was the question? Can you speak up a little louder, ma'am?
While you were interacting with Mr. Floyd, he didn't collapse on the ground, correct?
No, he did not.
Though he claims George was totally fine before and after the arrest, it is still believed that this arrest was what orchestrated his death. This cop and every other cop involved in this case not only get canceled by the public, they also lose their jobs and are currently facing criminal charges. Our next cop definitely tried to run from the law, but the law finally caught up with him. On 2016 at the Tonawanda Town Court in New York, a couple was seen having an argument with Michelle Lewandowski. It is claimed that the couple refused to leave the courtroom even after Officer Michael had told them to. Soon, another officer appears at the scene, and soon, Michael pulls the man forcefully from his seat, leaving the woman alone and watching her husband being dragged outside. Michael then returns and pushes the woman against the door, outside the courtroom. Michael is seen with other officers hitting the man multiple times, with the woman arguing and trying to intervene, but Michael pushes her to the wall, knocking her head. She is then warned by one of the officers to stay back. They are then handcuffed later. After this incident, no charges were filed. Michael was, however, suspended for 10 days for the use of force, but this was later reduced to 5 days. This footage remained hidden until 4 years later when a local TV station presented it as proof of misconduct by the officer. After the video gets released, Michael is then fired from the police department. That cop finally got what he deserved 4 years later, but our next cop definitely got his judgment instantly.
The only way I can make sense of the sentencing, and I also want everyone to understand where I'm coming from with regards to this, especially if there's going to be any appellate review of this sentence.
Michael Dotro, a former Edison police officer, was charged with firebombing his supervisor's home and other retaliations he had orchestrated against those who wronged him.
The sentence to be imposed in this particular case is because Mr. Dotro, through his conduct and his admissions, spanning from 1998 to this year, represents the worst that we can possibly expect from someone in our society. Yes, he's caused very specific damage to Captain Enderko and his family, to Ms. Zog, to Ms. Dotro, to his own parents, to his families, to his brothers. But what he's really done, and what we're going to be left with after he's walking out the door, spend the next third of his life in prison, is allow people a basis to say that our system of justice has no integrity. How could it when we've allowed this particular individual like him, here in Middlesex County, here in Edison, to do the things that he's done, similar to what we see on the news every day from other parts of the country. Because of what this individual has done, because of him and people like him, victims are afraid to come forward to be part of the criminal justice system and get the relief that they're entitled to from being victimized, because they have no faith in it, because they don't know who to trust.
Dotro is sentenced to 20 years in prison for his misconduct. Before his sentencing, the judge gives a speech on how and why they decided to give Dotro such a sentence, even though he's also a law enforcement officer. He speaks about the law and why he wants victims to have faith in the law once more.
Even more importantly, we have other individuals every day who put on a badge which represents honor, service, and integrity. Without question, go out there every day, leave their family behind to protect an entire community with hopes that they can make it through the day, through the end of their shift, so that they can go back home to their family and lead a normal human being life. Because the life of a police officer is not a normal human being life.
The actions of these cops were absolutely despicable. However, this next cop's arrogant attitude swiftly landed him in court.
I don't give a damn. You and your Constitution, you can stick it.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere until you fill out a form.
Okay. I could stick the Constitution. Very American, Phil.
Dirty cops do some of the most horrendous things, but sometimes they get caught and pay for it. In today's video, we bring you officers that surely deserve to be sent to the courtroom, especially in this first one where an auditor humiliates the officers. On June 9th, 2021, Sean Paul Reyes from the Long Island Audits posted a video of him visiting the Danbury, Connecticut Public Library. While there, a few corrupt cops showed up and did something terrible that led to a judge exploding in court.
How's it going, sir? Hey, how you doing, officers?
Good.
Can I get your names and badge numbers?
Sure, can I have your ID, please?
No, you can't.
Excuse me?
Have you not heard that before?
I've heard it plenty of times. It's just, I'm surprised because, well, my name and my badge number is right here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you see it?
Tibbetts?
Yep, 640.
The pen is blocking the number.
Oh.
640?
Yep.
And Dennis, 647.
So I was told that you were asked to leave.
Okay, so would you like to know?
Is that correct?
Would you like to know what I'm doing here, sir?
Were you asked to leave?
Sir, would you like to know what I'm doing here?
I'd like to answer my question.
Sir, this is a public library. Okay, I see where this is going.
I want you to answer my question.
I see where this is going.
Were you asked to leave?
I see where this is going.
Security asked you to leave, and the employees asked you to leave, sir?
No.
Were you
I was not.
Would you like him to leave, sir?
I didn't know that.
It goes the Constitution, law, then policies. Okay.
No idea.
Okay. And I have a constitutional right to be filming here. So.
Okay.
Great. So I'm just letting you know. Well, I'm letting you know because you don't know the Constitution, obviously.
No,
so.
Obviously I don't. No,
you took an oath to it, though, Tibbetts.
Jeez.
Dude, why you gotta be such a tyrant?
You gotta be such a tyrant. See what I'm doing there?
Acting like a child?
Yeah. So we're
acting like a child.
We have a supervisor coming out here to appease your request.
Yeah, okay. Great. Right, we're not friends. You're my servant, right?
Oh.
You're my public servant.
That's right.
You're here to protect and serve me.
Sure am. And I'm also here to protect and serve them too.
So I don't need protection. I don't need protection. So that's so that means
sure you're going to be okay and these people are going to be okay.
Because I don't need protection. That only leaves one more thing. You're here to serve me.
As you'll soon see, the whole department was corrupt. All of them were hell-bent on snatching Sean's rights. But things didn't stop there.
Listen, I don't...
Do you know what that law is?
Why don't you tell me?
It's interfering with the duties of a police officer. We now have to find out who you are.
So you know what I'm going to do?
No.
Listen, you guys obviously don't know what you're talking about. But what I'm going to do is, if you lawfully, you just lawfully detained me, I don't break the law. So
you just asked for a supervisor.
No, but it doesn't. You just detained me. This is an illegal detainment, and it started
because I need to find out who you are now.
Okay, lower your voice. We're in the library.
I'm just saying.
Okay, just calm down. Use your de-escalation, man. Come on, what are you doing? Just listen.
De-escalation what? You're now just.
Dude,
it's not going to end well with you. I'll be honest with you. We're just not going to walk away and you walk out of there and put all your stuff on your box. You're not doing it.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know.
Okay, so I'm detained though.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Do you know that a threat of arrest, like say if you threaten to arrest me and then to give your ID and then I give it to you, that is criminal because you threatened to arrest me.
I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know right now.
Okay.
That if we don't get it, we're going to have to arrest
I'm going to let you know. I'm going to let you know that to get my ID, you need reasonable, articulable suspicion that I've committed a crime.
You have.
What crime have I committed?
If you're not going to give me your ID, you're interfering with the duties of a police officer. I'm trying.
I would love for you to do that. I would love. Hey, Sergeant, how you doing? Good. Nice to meet you, sir. Hey, I just said Sergeant Dickinson? Yes. All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, so they would like you to leave?
Okay.
At this point?
Sergeant,
Hey, how about you let the sergeant speak?
Okay, how about you mind your business?
Are you gonna leave?
Hold on.
Are you gonna leave, yes or no?
If I don't leave, will I be arrested?
Yes, you're trespassing.
Okay, I'm gonna leave then, because you're under threat of arrest.
That's correct, yes.
Under threat of arrest. I'm going to leave. And no, you do not.
Hold on.
Well, don't touch me.
Don't
touch. No, you don't. No, you don't.
We have to identify
I have not committed a crime.
Yes, you have.
No, I haven't. Listen, man, you're touching me.
They asked you to leave.
They asked you to leave.
And I'm
you
leaving
refused to leave.
under threat of arrest.
Okay. You're refusing to provide identification to us. We need to
because I haven't committed a crime.
Back here because they don't want you coming back here.
Sergeant, I haven't committed a crime. Unless I've committed a crime, I don't have to show you ID, sir.
Wow, the most unprofessional police force I've ever seen. That sergeant had no control over his subordinates. At least he could have asked them to be polite, but he did the exact opposite.
Tell you not to go anywhere, you don't go nowhere. You understand?
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Do you understand that though?
Do you understand that I told you not to touch me?
Do you understand that?
Don't touch me.
You don't leave until we say so.
Don't touch me. Nobody's scared of you, Tibbetts.
No one's supposed to be scared of me. I'm talking over you because you keep yapping.
Okay.
You're not listening. You're here to sit here and preach about everything. You know the law.
I do.
You don't even know what simple trespass is.
I do know the law. Unfortunately, more than you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
If under threat of arrest, I will provide you with my ID. I'm going to go in my pocket now and grab my ID.
Okay. No, I think you know you're wrong.
No. I don't know I'm wrong. You're wrong. And you're getting a complaint on you. And unfortunately, even though you've been reasonable, you still violated my rights here today, sir. And I'll be planning a complaint on you. Everybody's getting a complaint, and I will be filing a lawsuit with the city because everybody's getting a complaint. You're a real bozo, man. You're a real bozo. You're a real bozo.
Sir, that hurts my feelings.
You guys are both bozos and tyrants. You know that? I got freedom. You're gonna limit my speech? You're gonna limit my speech now? They're not acting professional at all.
Get a real job, said the man who didn't even know the basics of his own job. His childlike behavior came out even more once they were outside the library.
Watch yourself, dude.
You didn't have that badge and you touched me? If you didn't have that badge and you touched me?
What is that? What are you trying to say?
Dude. Don't touch me.
What are you trying to say?
Because if you didn't have, you touched me.
What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to leave.
You're trying to leave.
Just go.
I'm trying to leave.
Just go, because it's not good for you.
It's not good for me. It's not good for you. I'm going. I'm going.
Bye.
I'm going. I'm going.
You lose your temper,
I'm
you
going.
start threatening officers.
I'm not threatening. You're a douchebag. You're a douchebag. Yup. Is that against the law? I'm going. I'm going off the property right now. This is what I do.
For a living?
I stand up for my rights. Yep.
No.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you do for a living?
You'll see.
Why do you come to
I
Connecticut?
promise.
If
I
you're
promise.
from New York?
Because you guys act like tyrants here. This is in New York. I can go into any public library and they might call the cops. Guess what? The cops know their job over there, and they're gonna leave. They've done it plenty of times because they're not stupid. They don't want to open themselves up to a lawsuit.
So they would like you to leave, and that's what we did.
No, but the law protects me to do what I do. You understand?
No.
It's a constitutionally protected activity. It's constitutionally protected activity. If I went in there and I was acting like an asshole,
you're wrong.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Hey, I want to file a complaint against him, Sergeant.
Right, thanks,
he just grabbed my arm. Sergeant, he just grabbed my arm. I want to file a complaint. Sergeant.
After the officers walked away from Sean, they had some pretty rough things to say about him.
I know. He's a
one. I'm telling you right now. 5 years ago with this, he would have been on the ground. Absolutely. 10, 15, 20 years ago, that motherfucker would be dead. His teeth would be missing.
After this, Sean began filing complaints and even protesting in Danbury City, which only made things worse for him.
You have to fill out a form. You can roll the camera, like in the hallways and but you can't go into a department.
I know exactly the rules on filming.
Yeah, all right, but I'm saying, and you can't disrupt. Right now.
That's why I educated you and the officers last time.
They're supposed to give me the forms as we speak. So if you can just wait here. Just wait 1 second. I'm sorry.
Your mayor didn't show me respect.
Wait down here.
I'm not waiting
You're not going upstairs. You're going to wait down here.
Don't touch me.
You show me some respect.
Listen.
You wait down here.
Hey, don't touch me. I'm just walking in a public building.
You're a pan.
Okay, great. No, by walking.
I don't want you to go upstairs. I have to call upstairs first. I have to
get
call
out of my way.
First.
I'm asking
not
you to
going to
get out of my way.
Get out of my way.
I'm asking you to get out of my way.
Get outside.
Get out of my way.
Get outside. You're not coming down. Do me a favor. Go to engineering. Go around the corner and get somebody. You're not going upstairs. You have to fill out a form first.
I don't need to fill out a form.
You're going to fill out a form.
No, I'm not.
You're not going upstairs, brother.
Don't touch me, man. What do you mean? Is that a threat? Is that a threat?
Go upstairs to the 3rd floor.
Janusa, Phil, relax.
Get probably Dean or get Dean. Okay, 2nd floor. Tell him I need those forms too.
You know you're breaking the law by preventing me from movement, right?
I don't care.
You're not going to do what
I don't care.
You're breaking
if I
the
lose
law.
my job, buddy. You're not going to keep
you're gonna
going
lose your
around
job.
and
You're gonna lose. I'll be calling Allied Universal.
Good for you. Good for you.
You will. You'll be back at the hospital.
We have new rules, buddy.
I don't care about your rules.
Well, yeah, I know. All you care about is yourself.
All I care about is the Constitution.
I don't
That's all I
give a
care
damn.
about.
You and your Constitution, you can stick it.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere until you fill out a form.
Okay. I could stick the Constitution. Very American, Phil.
Just imagine that this was their security guard, and even he was corrupted. Just wait till you see what the officers did.
Your city breaks the law.
What Phil has to do with anybody.
Phil's going to jail. Phil's going to jail.
We're just trying.
You'll see.
We're just trying to explain to you what our reasonable policies are. Now we know what they are. So go ahead, walk around the hall.
Great.
Okay, but make sure the rule is that.
Hey, I don't need you to listen. I don't need you to tell me what to do.
Okay, so you understand.
I don't need you to tell me what to do.
Okay. Just want to make it clear because it's a recent development because of
the First Amendment and freedom of press is a recent development for you guys. Come on.
As Sean tried to raise his voice against the tyrant guard, the whole department stood up against him, and eventually he had to face the inevitable.
What's going on?
Nothing.
You were just at the PD?
Yeah, I was just at the PD.
Okay. Were you here earlier recording?
Yeah, I was here earlier recording.
And then you went to the PD?
Uh-huh.
And now you're here?
Yeah, I'm here because I wasn't allowed upstairs.
Okay.
So I had to go to PD to file a criminal complaint against this gentleman for assaulting me.
Okay.
So that's why I went to the PD to write a statement. I'm here again because I'm a journalist working on a story. I'm capturing things that are important. That's all.
Okay. Did you record over the counter like they said?
What they're saying, officer, is that I can't even enter into the town hall office and record in the office. Because if I do, they're saying that that is somehow against the law.
Okay.
But as I'm sure you're aware, I'm not putting my phone behind a camera. I'm not in a restricted area. The security guard who assaulted me earlier got in front of me, said, "You can't record in here, you can't record in here." I was like, "Yes, I can record in here." He's saying that I can't record in the office, in the town hall office.
Right,
That's
I understand.
Excuse me, sir, what's your name? How can somebody come and record?
Do me a favor,
No, turn around. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
You look like Utter. You must be his...
No, I'm not. Put your hands behind your back. Thank you.
Good? Yeah, I'm just going to put that in your pocket. All right.
Go. You were told not to go film in the offices. You film in the offices. Okay.
Just going to make sure you don't have anything on
There you go. You got the body camera on?
Yes, I do.
I don't see the red lighting.
Yes, it is. See?
Okay.
There you go. Come on. We got it.
Buddies with Utter.
No, I'm not buddies with anybody.
Tyrants. You guys just keep on making it worse for yourselves.
Over the counter, what you
I
did?
wasn't filming over the counter. I was filming in the office, which the video approved. That's fine.
And they said
just
not
want to.
Staircase. It's not working.
Okay, perfect. Oh, there we go. We'll use the staircase.
Yeah, that's fine.
You commit the crime today, and I go away in cuffs. Isn't that justice? You committed the crime today, buddy. I'm in cuffs. The difference is when you're arrested later, it's going to be a lawful arrest. This is what's called an unlawful arrest.
Not only did the officer unlawfully arrest Sean, but they also seized his phone. After this incident, Officer Lacabellis was seen helping Phil, the security guard, write a report to prevent his arrest. In the body cam footage, he could be seen repeatedly telling Phil that it was his statement, all the while helping him write it.
So I would start this by saying, I am a security guard for Allied Universal Security Services, and I work at Danbury City Hall, 155 Deer Hill Ave, Danbury, Connecticut. Right? You introduce yourself and what happened. You don't have to go into crazy detail of the past with this guy, this and that. Whatever's pertinent. This is just what's pertinent to the case. A man who I know from prior experience as whatever you know him as, right? Came into the facility, was video recording. He wanted to go upstairs. I tried to stop him. He got in my face. He tried to move past me, and I believed I was doing the right thing by physically stopping him from going up the stairs at City Hall, going further into the building. You follow my drift? This is your letter to the court, so make it good. Okay? I can't write it for you. You have to. This is your words, who you are, what happened, why you did what you did. You need to articulate why you used physical force in that. No matter how minor, whether it's just, a push or a light, I'm not going to do it to you, because then I'm not going to use physical force on you.
But he gets in my, I didn't go up there. He kept getting in my face. He was agitated.
Yeah, say that. And now be mindful that there is a video of the entire thing. X and Y.
Of course,
that someone is not allowed in City Hall filming unless they fill out a form. The forms were not provided to me as of yet.
Well,
right? And then, no, you got to do it yourself. I'm not, this is, I have enough writing of my own to do. This is your statement. And, you need to articulate here what's going on. You touched on it before, but you didn't finish it. You have to say you're supposed to do this, that, and the third. He refused all that, proceeded around me, and went to go up the stairs. So I simply tried to stop him from going up the stairs so that he could fill out the appropriate forms. Now, all that is well and good until you start to use force against somebody.
They told me.
This isn't someone wiling out at the hospital. You know what I mean? This is a completely different arena we're in here.
After this, things got better for Sean Reyes. All the charges against him were dropped, and his phone was returned too. Eventually, things reached the court, where a judge saw the full footage of Sergeant Lacabellis doing what he did and got pretty mad.
Mr. Reyes, in so many words, I don't need this, I'm up for a promotion.
I wouldn't say in so many words, but along those lines, yes.
Okay, and what about your involvement in this incident? Were you concerned about pertaining to a promotion?
Well, I'll tell you exactly. After I had watched the library incident, I had seen on his channel that nearly every single one of those videos cast the police in a negative light. So I was fearful that regardless of what I did that day, right or wrong, the same would be done to me. That's exactly what happened.
Right. That didn't happen to you, right?
Oh, no, it did.
It did?
Yep.
The videos involving, I think it's Tippets and Utter, and the statement that if he'd done something 20 years ago, he would have been dead and back.
Objection is what?
Yes, I did not.
Objection.
Yes.
Government's hearsay outside scope of correct.
Sustain. Keep going. Okay. The incident at the library, were you familiar with what happened there?
Objection. Same all three grounds.
Keep her out of that objection.
There's been some discussion in the trial thus far about the incident at the message.
And that involved Danbury Police Department police officers, right?
The incident, I'm sorry.
At the library, sir?
Yes, it did.
And you're familiar with the library incident, right?
Yes.
And are you familiar that Mr. Reyes made a complaint about Danbury police officers in that case?
Objection.
I want to allow is
at the time of this.
Okay, here's how it's going to work. He's going to ask a question. Okay. He may object. I will rule the objection. You don't answer until I rule the objection. Got it. It's going to use your preference.
As you can see, the sergeant's attorney was in no mood to let the conversation proceed without objection, but the judge shut him up.
In terms of the conduct that occurred in the stairwell, your words to Mr. Reyes was, hey, I don't agree with what he did.
Yeah.
Correct?
Correct.
Phil was wrong.
I don't agree with it.
Did you say that?
Objection relevance.
So that's sustained. That's not relevant. And I think the line of questioning, the warrant, Mr. Reyes, was for the fatality. It wasn't just for the incident in the stairwell, right? You're juxtaposing his conduct on the stairwell with Mr. Janusz's conduct on the stairwell. That's what you're doing?
Well, something like that, but I know that we're here for this particular instance about the trespass and trying to focus on
7/15/21 in total.
Correct.
Okay.
It's nothing to do with Mr. Reyes and what he's charged for, correct?
Objection relevance.
I don't understand the question.
I don't understand it. I'm sorry. I'm trying
So the question is, the objection is sustained. Anything you do, anything he does, is not relevant to that investigation that day. Be more specific.
Did any investigation that you undertook
With regard to
after July
Mr. Reyes?
15th pertaining to Mr. Reyes, was there any such investigation?
Any investigation that I partook
Correct.
after July 15th.
Correct.
Well, so I'll just give a little diatribe.
Please. I'm going to object to the form of the question. I don't understand it.
Okay, yes or no?
I don't understand it. Are you asking me if, besides this investigation into this incident on July 15th, were there any other investigations into Mr. Reyes? Is that what you're asking?
Correct.
The judge made the questions look unclear, when in fact they were pretty straightforward. Sean's attorney was simply asking the sergeant if he performed any other investigation after he wrote a warrant for Sean on 15th July. He could have simply said no.
Did you undertake any other investigations regarding Mr. Reyes being the subject matter of the investigation?
No.
There's your answer, Tracy.
So you didn't learn anything further about Mr. Reyes and his conduct on July 15th from a subsequent investigation, correct?
I didn't. I may have learned that he was arrested later that day, but it had nothing to do with this investigation.
Okay, that's where I'm going. When Mr. Reyes was arrested, you weren't the arresting officer, right?
No.
And when Mr. Reyes was arrested in the town clerk's office on the 15th of July 2021, you didn't see any of it, correct?
Correct. I was there that day, but I was in a different part of the. I was on a different.
And so you have no personal knowledge of what occurred, correct?
The specifics of it, no.
Based on that conduct, to have Mr. Reyes arrested, is that what you did?
I'm going to object because that mischaracterized the testimony. He said he had
Question.
in the morning, not the afternoon.
Sustained. It does mischaracterize the testimony. Ask a question, Tracy.
Sir?
Yes.
You weren't present in the clerk's office the afternoon of July 15th, 2021, correct?
Objection, ask the answer.
Sustained. We've had that.
Did the warrant that you did for Mr. Reyes pertain to conduct that occurred on July 15th, 2021 in the town clerk's office in the afternoon, sir? Yes or no, if you can?
Statement objection.
No.
Ask the answer.
Okay. We're taking a recess. Counsel in chambers now.
All rise. Court's now in recess.
This judge appears to be doing everything possible to hand a victory to the city of Danbury.
Is there a reason you told Mr. Reyes not to go back to City Hall? I think it's on the video. Why did you tell him that? Not to go back to City Hall?
Just because I thought
Objection, Your Honor. This goes beyond the scope of my cross-examination. I didn't delve into this officer telling anybody to go back to City Hall. It goes beyond the scope of my cross-examination.
As part and parcel, he asked about the whole interview with the guy, with the defendant.
There was discussion in the interview and discussion maybe he likes to coach witnesses. I will allow a question.
Is there a reason why did you tell Mr. Reyes not to return to City Hall?
Objection, Your Honor. What's the relevance of it?
I assume it's preliminary. I will give you some latitude.
There's some preliminary trial. Is there a reason why you told Mr. Reyes not to return to City Hall?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled. Answer the question, if you can.
Because I didn't think I knew could, but typically, if there's already been an incident between two people, it's in my interest to try and, if I can, tell those two people to stay away from each other. That's just, that's what every police officer does in that. You know, I've told people in similar cases in domestics, look, you can stay here, but it's not a good idea if you do stay here. I'm just trying to, and I said it jokingly, you know, and then just laugh.
Let me go back. Let me flip. One moment.
The judge made his decision before the first witness was sworn in. This just shows that the whole city was involved in this scandal to put Sean down.
So the basic news is, guys, is that all 4 criminal charges have been dropped. They still left me with, unfortunately, they still left me with the infractions. So all my exposure is, you know, a $90 ticket if I get found guilty. Oh man, so I do, even though all the criminal charges have been dropped, I wonder why, because there's no criminal behavior. So I asked my lawyer, I said, you know, why are they doing this? You know, other than the fact that I'm innocent, right? Why is it that they're doing it? It's because it's their strategy. That's what, you know, and if I get found guilty of simple trespass and creating a disturbance, you know, I might have to pay, you know, $90 ticket. But no criminal, you know, charges, no record or anything like that. So, you know, the criminal charges have been dropped. That's a good thing, guys. December 2nd is my trial. December 2nd of this year is my trial, which will be trial by a judge, right? It's going to be a bench trial, not a jury trial. I'm not entitled to a jury trial anymore.
This cop may have gotten off a little easy. However, the next one was absolutely torn apart for his lies in court.
I'm dismissing. I am dismissing this charge.
Joke about his injuries as it will wipe him blood off their uniforms with disinfectant.
Dirty cops are everywhere these days, but they sometimes face the severe consequences of their corrupt actions. In this video, we will look at cases where dirty cops react to unexpected prison sentences, starting with the first one, where a judge puts his foot down after an officer is caught driving under the influence. In 2014, Lisette Gonzalez was charged with driving under the influence after being observed drinking beer while driving. Officer Michael Wagner testified that he witnessed Gonzalez consuming alcohol and subsequently arrested her. After the verdict was reached, Gonzalez's attorney made a final plea.
Your Honor, not enough evidence presented for the jury to find the verdicts that they did. They didn't do all the field sobriety examinations that should have been done. I respectfully ask that this court grant the judgment notwithstanding the verdict.
According to the attorney, Gonzalez was not given a breathalyzer, and neither had her blood drawn for testing. Based on this, he asked the judge to overturn the verdict.
This isn't a purely circumstantial case. And so I'm going to deny the motion for JOA. Now, we have this other case for driving while license suspended.
Next, the judge brought up the issue that Gonzalez was driving with a suspended license. But that only happened because the arresting office, Wagner, Ayers, submitted a false report. When Wagner's attorney tries defending him, though, the judge loses his cool.
I want to be enlightened.
It was a mistake, admittedly, by Michael Wagner.
I know.
He testified to that today.
He caused her to have her driver's license suspended for at least a few months for nothing. So are you going to null process that case? Or am I going to get mad at you today?
Perhaps you can get mad at me, Your Honor, but at this point...
Why wouldn't you? Wait a minute. Did you hear the uncontroverted testimony of this officer?
Your Honor.
Then I want you to take him up on perjury.
Your Honor.
Will you take him up for perjury?
He admitted it was a mistake, Your Honor.
No, but he lied. He lied on a sworn citation.
Absolutely not, Your Honor, and that is not true.
I'm dismissing. I'm dismissing. I am dismissing this charge. No, I'm dismissing the charge.
The attorney was trying to be assertive with a judge. They don't even have the decency anymore to be respectful, but the judge handled this spoiled woman pretty well.
This whole case was fishy, and I have no idea how they... You know what?
Their address on file.
You know what?
The state intends to amend
I'm granting.
the charge and proceed on
I'm rescinding the sentence. I'm granting the JOA.
I agree with the state's decision on
I'm granting the JOA in fairness.
In fairness, because you don't like the state's decision today, Your Honor, on the case?
No, you're not. Now that I consider what Officer Wagner testified to and how many times he basically tripped over himself just to arrest this lady with no real probable cause. You're done. Motion to JOA is granted.
And you're not going to provide a written order on that?
Nope. You want to appeal me? Appeal me.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The case should have never been done. Never.
Thank you for letting us know that, Your Honor.
It's mind-blowing that some of these attorneys will go to any length to protect the evilest of people. Thanks to the judge's sensibility, Gonzalez walked out of that room free of all charges. If you think this cop had it bad, then wait till you see this next case where an evil cop got a sentence that rendered his life essentially over.
And we have surgically removed the cancerous officers from the Edison Police Department.
The officer in question was Edison Police Officer Michael Dotro, who was responsible for mastering various plots to harm other officers and firebomb the house of one of his supervisors. Yes, you heard that right. This guy actually did that. Then, on September 7th, 2017, Middlesex County Court in New Brunswick.
Everyone to understand where I'm coming from with regards to this, especially if there's going to be any appellate review of this sentence. I want those judges to know the sentence to be imposed in this particular case is because Mr. Dotro, through his conduct and his admissions, spanning from 1998 to this year, represents the worst that we can possibly expect from someone in our society. Yes, he's caused very specific damage to Captain Endurko and his family, to Ms. Zog, to Ms. Dotro, to his own parents, to his families, to his brothers, after he's walking out the door to spend the next third of his life in prison. Has allowed people a basis to say that our system of justice has no integrity. How could it when we've allowed this particular individual like him here in Middlesex County, here in Edison, to do the things that he's done, similar to what we see on the news every day from other parts of the country.
The judge was a perfect example of how criminals like that officer should be treated like they are a disease that should be eradicated from this planet and despised as much as possible.
Because of him and people like him, victims are afraid to come forward to be part of the criminal justice system and get the relief that they're entitled to from being victimized, because they have no faith in it, because they don't know who to trust. Even more importantly, we have other individuals every day who put on a badge which represents honor, service, and integrity. And without question, go out there every day, leave their family behind to protect an entire community with hopes that they can make it through the day, through the end of their shift, so that they can go back home to their family and lead a normal human being life, because the life of a police officer is not a normal human being life.
It's really sad to say this, but that badge no longer means service and integrity. It has become just another means for bullies like Dotro to fulfill their egoic desires. After this, a prosecutor, along with two chiefs, announced the final sentencing for Michael Dotro.
In May of 2013, I stood right here and we announced the charges against Michael Dotro, very serious charges, and at that point I was the prosecutor 2 weeks into the job. Since that time, I have worked with Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office, Chief Bryant specifically, the Edison Police Department, many of its officers, and what we have done is we have analyzed what exactly was going on in Edison Police Department, and we have surgically removed the cancerous officers from the Edison Police Department. The Edison Police Department is a much different place than it was 4 years ago. Michael Dotro has now been sentenced and convicted of some very serious crimes that legitimate police officers find absolutely repugnant. We've gone back and we've looked at other officers at the Edison Police Department, and frankly, we've worked hard to clean shot. 4 other officers were removed for malfeasance that were directly tied to the Dotro investigation, and in addition, 3 others were removed for other acts that were inappropriate as well.
This is why it's essential to raise awareness about the disgusting actions of officers who abuse their power, because eventually our voice reaches the top.
There's a new tone, there's a new day in Edison Police Department. All of the police officers who've gone to Edison Police Department uniform are proudly serving its citizens and everybody who comes through Edison. They're doing a fine job and they're serving with integrity. And that's what the County of Middlesex should know today. The Edison Police Department is a much better and different place than it was 4 years ago. And we're happy with the judge's rendering of the sentence today. Thank you.
Michael Dotro was an Edison cop for 10 years before his arrest and conviction. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison following his guilty plea. This cop got served pretty well, just like this next one who couldn't even admit he was guilty.
I've already ruled. I've already ruled at this point in time. We're done at this point in time.
During a hearing in Breckinridge County, Kentucky, Todd Pate, the former sheriff of Breckinridge County, appeared in front of the judge after he was charged with operating under the influence for the second time. As the hearing proceeds, Todd does something pretty strange.
This time is it your desire to change your plea from not guilty to guilty?
Do I have to answer that yes or no, or can I make somewhat of a statement
That is a yes or no answer, sir.
Will I have the opportunity to say anything further?
If it is your intention to change your plea from not guilty to guilty, certainly you'll have an opportunity to make any statement. But if it is not your intent to enter a guilty plea at this time, then I'm going to set your case for jury trial, and you're going to stop wasting my time and everybody else's time this afternoon.
Ma'am, I'm not trying to waste your time.
Then is it your intention to enter a guilty plea at this time or not, sir?
No.
Todd had the option to plead guilty and reduce his sentence from 15 years to 75 days, and he still struggled with it. If that isn't stupidity, I don't know what is.
Why am I wasting your time,
Mr. Chambers, what is the Commonwealth's position at this time, sir?
Your Honor, we would move to revoke the defendant's bond at this time.
I believe I'll just let him answer that question if it pleases the court.
All right. So, Mr. Pate?
Can I say a few things, or?
I need to understand what it is that we're doing here today, Mr. Pate.
Yes, I had every intention of coming in here today and entering a guilty plea. It's difficult for me to enter a guilty plea for a lot of reasons, and I don't want this court to think that I am trying to minimize any responsibility that I had in this situation that occurred.
The former sheriff was doing all that drama so that he could prove himself right. In other words, being right was more important for him than spending less time in jail.
I feel like I'm being very much into doing something that's not right, and I want this court to know that Todd Pate holds himself responsible for everything that he did. It's hard for me to lay down and plead to felony charges that don't apply.
Is it your intention today to enter this guilty plea?
And if I could address...
This is either a yes or no. Are you going to enter your plea or not?
I guess everybody thinks it's funny. Let me just plea and get it over with for everybody. Plea to something that I absolutely do not feel good about, but I don't want you to try to send me to the penitentiary for years and years. If you can sleep with it, I can sleep with it.
I think we're done. At this point in time, I think we're done. Where I think we are today is that on the one hand, the Commonwealth can enforce the terms of this agreement based on the execution. Mr. Pate, I'm talking at this point in time.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
At this point in time, I'm going to sustain the Commonwealth's motion to revoke his bond. He will be taken into the custody and housed in the Breckinridge County Jail.
Your Honor, if I may speak to Mr. Chambers' motion to revoke the bond.
I've already ruled. I've already ruled at this point in time. We're done at this point in time. He's going into jail today.
Pate eventually pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 75 days in jail, with credit for time served. What's baffling about this is that he really had to push himself to plead guilty. Any normal person would have done it in an instant. This officer could have hurt many people because of what he did, but this next officer did not leave that up to chance.
There's an old saying, it ain't no fun when a rabbit's got the gun. It's equally applicable when he has the video. The eye of justice.
On January 28, 2015, an ex-cop, William Melendez, and his partner stopped Floyd Dent for a minor offense. But this stop turned into something completely different. As William appeared in court, the judge went through the situation again, the details of which will leave you shocked.
January 28, 2015, where his life changed forever. He was stopped by the defendant, a then Inkster police officer, and his partner, Officer Zelenowski. Mr. Dent was stopped for a minor traffic offense and ordered out of his vehicle. With his hands extended out of his driver's window, he was grabbed out thrown to the ground and 16 times in the head by the defendant. In his attempt to arrest him, he was thrown onto a window shield of a patrol car. The responding police officers arrived as the defendant is wrestling the defendant to the ground. Mr. Dent was struck, kicked, and tased while on the ground by what appeared to be a group of angry, anxious police officers that celebrated after the defendant was beaten and cuffed. The video in the car shows the police officers fist bumping as a celebratory act of bravery by the defendant and his cohorts. But the one image that struck out to the court was looking at Mr. Dent in his cell, shaking his head.
You could already tell that the judge was infuriated by this devil cop's actions. What he did was so low that even the judge couldn't hide the disgust on her face.
If his conduct was indicative of what he was thinking, I would have thought this: what crime did I commit? Being a black man in a Cadillac, stopped for a minor traffic offense by a group of racist police officers looking to do it. As police officer John Zelenowski, auxiliary police officer, testified in court too, in his response to a text, was quoted as saying, "At least give me the satisfaction of knowing that you're out there beating up niggas right now. LOL." How humiliating and degrading that must have been. He was left in a cell for a number of hours before getting medical treatment. On January 28, 2015, you did not fulfill your job. You performed Just Us, a game that began with a police stop. The purpose of it was to harass and degrade a motorist in Inkster. The man chosen for your game was Floyd Dent, a black man. The game went like this. Let's follow a car in a known area, and based on your years of training experience, you knew that the motorist would likely be a black person, no license, armed with a gun or drugs in a vehicle.
The judge was not taking this lightly, as she rubbed the officer's face in the mess that he had created for himself, and you could see the clear indications of shame on the officer's face.
And upon stopping Mr. Dent, who was dead wrong for driving with no license or license suspended, running stop signs, and weaving in and out of the back street, which the court saw in the video, you and your sidekick, auxiliary police officer Zelenowski, caught your prey. Upon being stopped, Mr. Dent put his hands out of the driver's window in plain view. Your partner and you pulled him out. When he didn't move fast enough for you, you refer to it as resisting. I call it bowing down to your command. You utilized your dirty, hairy tactics and used excessive force to arrest him. When your posse arrived, they joined you in the takedown, kicking and ultimately throwing Mr. Dent into a windshield of a police car with a dash cam, which I refer to as the eye of justice. You were so into your bravado that you forgot the eye of justice was watching you and recording this disgusting beating, seeing Mr. Dent slammed into the window shield with blood running down his face. The dash cam that was designed to protect you ended up being what convicted you. Fist busting after taking him down as a sign of bravery was just another cowardly act caught by the eye of justice.
This female judge is what we need more of in this country today. She had no problem at all in stating the obvious and addressing all the elephants in the room.
Took me several days to read the letters that people sent talking about your character, about the man that you are, about how you went in Westland and helped to save 3 senior citizens from a burning building. 3 of those letters, I believe, were from African Americans, and 1 even professed to be like a mother. 1 or 2 things, either they're all racist or there's something redeeming about you that somehow in some way you forgot that night. The way you denigrated that man was awful. Who would know and who would care about a lone black man being assaulted by upstanding police officers? At the station, the other eye of justice captured you and your posse making fun of Mr. Dent, mimicking him struggling while you all wiped the blood off your uniforms with disinfectant while he watched. Such an awesome, caring, properly trained police officer. You led your fellow officers down a path of cowardly behavior. But today you will pay for it. You will pay for 2 things. Not being an example of greatness, which I know that you are from all the letters of support, awards, and commendation that you have shared with this court, and resorting to cowardly acts of barbaric behavior that led you to be convicted of these crimes.
After a long verbal beating, the judge finally punished Melendez, and his reaction is worth watching.
You betrayed your city. You caused your lovely wife heartache. And you caused Mr. Dent severe anguish. And finally, in the words of Vicki Yost, your commander, accountability is required to ensure continued community trust and healing. Today, I can only punish your conduct, but only you and God can change your character. I've had an opportunity to listen to both sides, but it was my privilege to be able to oversee this trial because I had great lawyers, and great lawyers make jobs real easy. At this time, I am going to commit you to the Michigan Department of Corrections. However, after weighing the allegations in this particular matter and looking at all the circumstances, including what you've done and who the person I really believe that you are, I'm going to commit you to the Michigan Department of Corrections as to count 1 for no less than 13 months, no more than 10 years. As to count 2, I'm going to give you 90 days credit for time served and close it out. Of course, it's going to give you 85 days for credit. You have 42 days to appeal my decision. That concludes this matter. Thank you.
That day, this judge set an example for how devils like Melendez should be treated nationwide, and I applaud her for that. Moving on to our final sentencing of the day, we have the case of Nuwan Raja, an evil cop who did one of the worst things a cop could do.
Discharging the firearm actually caused great bodily harm or death to Corey L. Jones.
On March 7th, 2019, Nuwan Raja, a former police officer from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, was convicted following an 8-day jury trial for some heinous acts he had committed. On April 25th, 2019, Raja appeared in front of Circuit Judge Joseph Marks, and what the judge did next will leave you shocked.
We got 6 people that were plucked out of their normal lives, just sitting at home eating a sandwich one day, and they got a card in the mail that said, "You got to come to the courthouse." They're just regular folks just like the rest of us. And they got thrust into this situation. I have no idea what's going to happen right now. I do know one thing. There's going to be one side who's going to be brokenhearted. One side's going to be brokenhearted. We know that for sure. What I ask everybody, and then I follow it up with I'm ordering, that I am respectful that this is the most pressure-packed moment for most people in their entire lives. I don't want to hear a peep. And to whatever side's brokenhearted, if you don't think you can take it, I need you to step out in the hallway, because there will not be, nobody will run out of this courtroom while I'm taking this verdict. As soon as the 6 jurors are out of the courtroom, you're free to get up, walk out. Please, my job, and I think everybody's picked up on it, how respectful and polite I am to everybody. But when I'm forced to, I bite. I just want peace for these 6 people to get out of here, and then whatever the verdict is, we'll deal with it after they have been excused. Okay. So let's bring in the jury.
After an electric introduction, the judge orders the jury to be brought in.
Jurors, I'm gonna take things out of order here. I want you to listen. One last instruction I have to give to you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for your time and consideration of this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in the jury room except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases. We have recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and votes should remain their private affair as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about your work. Although you are at liberty to speak with anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty to refuse to speak to anyone. When you're being escorted out today, if you want to say, listen, I want to break off and stand in front of the courthouse and talk about this case, you're free to do so. But you're also free to say, I have done my service and I'm leaving. If anybody harasses, I want to know. When you leave, I'm going to give you you're going to be handed a packet. In the packet is a certificate of appreciation. Inside the envelope is a letter evidencing your jury work that I mentioned a very long time ago. If anybody has a problem with an employer, let me know. Also, there's the anonymous questionnaire. It's a way for you to write back to me and tell me, Judge, this is what I liked, this is what I didn't like. Does all of you have your personal belongings? Everything you've gathered, everything up? They're in the jury room? Okay.
You can already tell that this judge is pretty strong on principles. Just think about what he'd do to an officer who has the crime of unaliving someone hanging on his head.
In the Circuit Court of the 15th Judicial Circuit, in and for Palm Beach County, Florida, Criminal Division, Division X, case number 2016 CF 005507 AMB, State of Florida, plaintiff versus Nuwan Khan Raja, defendant, verdict. We, the jury, find as follows. As to count 1, we find a defendant guilty of while armed with as charged in the information. As to count 2, we found a defendant guilty of attempted first-degree murder as charged in the information. If you find a defendant guilty of attempted first-degree murder, you must next answer the following questions. Did the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant actually possessed a firearm? Yes. Did the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant actually discharged a firearm? Yes. Discharging the firearm actually caused great bodily harm or death to Corey L. Jones? Yes. So say we all, the 7th day of March, 2019, in West Palm Beach County, Florida, signed, jury, 4-person.
Poll the jury.
Juror number 1, were the verdicts is read your verdict? Juror number 2, were the verdicts is read your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 3, were the verdicts is read your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 4, were the verdicts is read your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 5, were the verdicts is read your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 6, were the verdicts is read your verdicts?
Yes.
Thank you very much. You're excused. Follow the deputies. All right, everybody have a seat.
Even the jury seemed determined to put the devil cop behind bars, but now it was the judge's turn to speak.
All right. So, State, what are your feelings? 30 days to put it off?
At this time, obviously, we're going to request the defendant be remanded.
I am going to remand the defendant.
We will
we understand that there realistically is going to be some type of legal argument that needs to be made.
Sure.
Based on the verdict, we would expect there to be some type of motions filed by the defense. We'd ask the court, if you would, set a deadline on filing motions, and then give us a certain deadline on responding to those motions, and then setting a sentencing hearing either from that point, but I think 30 days might be a little too light, just in the fact of, understandably, there probably will be some litigation prior to the actual.
I'm sure. Definitely there will be, based on some previous discussions we had. Should I pass sentencing off then for about 45 days to get your post-trial motions in order? Okay. So, Ms. Driscoll, please give me a date in about approximately 45 days, and I'll set it at 1:30 in the afternoon and set aside the whole afternoon.
We also have a date, just a final date for any motions to be filed. That will give us an opportunity to file.
I'll put that at the 30-day mark.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So that gives you 15 days in between. 30 days to get your appropriate motions filed, 15 days early.
Judge, are you going to do the motions at the same time as the sentencing?
That would not be my intention. That would not be my intention. So I'll have time in between there. The lawyers have worked so well together. Just contact each other and I'll put aside special time for you. April 26th, that's the 45-day mark. Okay, that'll be sentencing, 1:30 in the afternoon. And in between, I'll leave it to the lawyers to contact my office to set up whatever hearings need to be conducted regarding post-trial motions. I hereby remand the defendant. And Mr. Lubin, do you want a PSI?
The court was dismissed afterward, but on April 25, 2019, the same judge, Joseph Marks, sentenced Raja to an astounding prison sentence.
On count 1, I hereby sentence him to 25 years in the Department of Corrections. And on count 2, I hereby sentence Mr. Raja to 25 years in the Department of Corrections. That is as a minimum mandatory, which will require that he serve day for day. Those sentences will run concurrently.
Raja's scheduled release date is February 27, 2044, but under Florida parole and probation guidelines, his minimum release date is May 29, 2040. As of September 20th, 19, Raja was being held at the Wakulla Correctional Institution in Crawfordville, a minimum to medium security level prison southeast of Tallahassee. Do you think Raja got what he deserved? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like the video, subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one we have in store for you. Thanks for watching. This is Detective Mystery, signing off.